Okay, hello everyone and welcome to our training today. This is a Gmail Quickstart training, which means that we only have a short period of time together. We're just going over some quick items to get you started using Gmail. So mainly we're going to be going over some of the differences between Outlook and Gmail so that when you do have access to your accounts, which is actually later on today, you will be able to start logging in and adjusting those different items. Mostly we'll be touching on settings and then how to recreate your rules in Outlook as filters, because those are items that are not coming over and you will need to recreate your rules from scratch. So today's session is going to be recorded just like all of our other trainings, and you can ask questions by clicking on the question section, typing in the question pane, or by clicking the raised hand icon. The raised hand icon will indicate to me that you'd like to be unmuted, so you can speak to me about what your question pertains to. And I'll give you a heads up before I do unmute you. So the different items we'll be covering today and the different settings are going to be how to move your chat to the right side of your screen, how to set up your signature and your fonts, and your out of office or vacation responder, what conversation threading is and how to turn it off if you don't enjoy how the setup is. And there's going to be another setting that we touch on too. I haven't listed here, but I'll adjust that for you. And that is to make Gmail look more like Outlook. Okay. So we'll go over all of those, as well as some of the basics of just how do you send emails and access CC, BCC, and what the screen looks like when you are composing that message, as well as how to organize the messages that you received using folders, which Google calls labels, just down here at the bottom here. And there's a reason why it's called labels, which we'll explore together in a minute. And the last feature that we have that is different than Outlook is that we will be using Google's search to try to find our email messages. Instead of using the sort functionality in Outlook, Google uses search and has different fields that you can fill out to do that. So I think this is actually going to save you more time than having to sort, and I'll talk to you about why in a minute here. I also wanted to direct your attention to a few resources that we have. So if you're someone that learns better by looking at a guide, this training and the training later on today on calendar is pretty much in guide form here on the Gmail and Calendar Quickstart guide. Now this is actually in the I think it was the very last email that you guys received yesterday that had the login instructions, this guide, as well as the mobile device guide setup for Android and for iOS. Okay, so all of these resources are available to you in the slide deck here. So I'm going to chat you the link to the slide deck now so that you can access it and you'll be able to see all of those materials. Okay, so it's in the chat section of GoToWebinar. You should see a little link in there that you can click on. And then you can come to this slide here that has the Gmail and Calendar Quick Start Guide, which is this session in guide format pretty much, or some of the highlights from it. And then the mobile device setup guides. If you are an Apple or iOS user, I highly recommend that you follow this step by step, because there is a section in here that you might be surprised at. That section in particular, and this is only for iOS users, Android's a little bit different. One of the options is you need to actually select Exchange, not Google, and trust us on that. It has to do with how information is sent to your phone, and you don't need to know the explanation. All that you need to know is that there are guides to configure your mobile device, and you should make sure that you're using that when you do have account access later on today. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of some of the learning materials that are available to you and what we recommend that you use. Okay. So first item that we'll go over here is how to sign into your account. Now you were emailed instructions about how to do this when you have access later on today. If you're not going to need to access your email over the weekend, it is fine, and you can actually sign in for the first time on Monday. That is up to you. Okay, but if you are going to need to have access to your account over the weekend, after the time that we specified, I think for you guys it was 5 p.m. I'll double check on that though. You can log into your account, your Google account. And after that time, moving forward, all new email is going to go to your Google account. So that's where you're going to need to look. All right, so let's take a look at how to sign in here, I'm going to go, and if you were to open your Google Chrome web browser, you're going to be brought probably to google.com or directly to a page that looks like this. Okay, this is probably what you're going to see here. So what you'll do is just sign into your email address here. You can type that in here as your work email address. Then click Next, and you will be able to put in your password. If you're not brought to this screen, what you can do is, we want you, and in the instructions we specified, to type in mail.google.com and click Enter. And then you want to actually click to sign in. You're brought to pretty much the same screen here. Okay. Now the reason for that is once you do put in your email address and your password, it is going to prompt you to accept terms and conditions. Okay, and that way we're able to get all the information in your account and have everything be recognized. So that is why we did send you those instructions. When you are signed in, you'll be brought to Gmail, which is going to look a little bit like this. Now remember, we moved over most of your information already for you when you'll have access to your accounts. And more information will continue to trickle into that account as the tool that we're using to bring it over from Outlook keeps running. So if there's anything that you're not seeing in your Google account yet, you can still use Outlook to reference anything, but don't use Outlook to move things into different folders, because that's not going to reflect in Google after the time specified tonight. Okay, so make sure that after that time, you are using Google to organize your items. And from then on, you can use Outlook just as read-only. And I did double check the time for you guys, and that is after 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can start logging into your account. New mail will be going to Google, and you should be using Google then forward. All right, so that's the plan. Now when you're in Google, some of the things that you might want to adjust is probably the first thing that you notice here is it looks different than Outlook. And if you don't like the way that it looks, we can adjust it so it looks similar to Outlook. What you're going to do is click on this gear icon here and then click Settings. Okay, now you only have to do this once and then it's enabled for you. You don't have to do it again. And this is also in your Gmail and Calendar Quick Start guide, I believe. Let's take a look here. There should be a section in here about preview pane, and if it's not, I'll add it after today's session. I'm not seeing it here, so I'll add it for you. Okay, you're going to click on the Labs tab here, and then we're going to look for something called preview pane. So we could scroll in our list here and find it. There's also a search at the top. So if I typed in preview, I'd be able to find it a lot faster. So here's preview pane. You can kind of tell from this image, although it's small, what it's going to do is it's going to show a list of your emails on the left side, and then whatever email you've clicked on it will appear on the right. Okay, so just like how Outlook functioned. I clicked enable and save. It kind of looks like nothing happened, but I actually gained a new button here. So this big button and then the actual down arrow next to it. The big button will actually toggle on preview pane, and you can choose to split it horizontally like it is now, or vertically, which is probably what you're used to. So the down arrow next to that big button will allow you to choose which view you want. Yours is probably going to be the vertical split. That's it, probably like better. Okay. Now if you want to see a message here, you just need to click on one and then it will display for you, and you can kind of scroll over if anything's cut off. Okay. And what you can also do is, if you want to see more or less of the subject line here on the left, put your cursor kind of in between those two sections until it becomes a cross, and then you can make it left click and drag so that it's more narrow or wider. Okay, so that is called preview pane, and that's a setting in your lab section within the settings in Gmail. And we'll add that to your Gmail and Calendar Quick Start guide for you too. Okay. All right, so that's one setting. I'm going to turn it off just because I'm a little bit zoomed in here on my screen so you can see it better. And we're going to go over some other settings. Our first item that we'll be exploring together is how to set up your signature so that when you do hit the red compose button, a signature is automatically populated for you, and you don't have to do that, type it in every time. Okay. So gear icon here, and then click Settings. We'll scroll down a bit, and here is where you can actually adjust how your font looks when you're typing to compose an email. You have just a few options in this box here of sizes and styles, and that's because all of these fonts and sizes are guaranteed to look the same regardless of the screen size that you have or if you're on a mobile device. So that's why Google only gives you a few options. But to kind of get around this, if you really like the text that you have in Outlook, you can copy and paste it into this box, and it will typically save the way that you'd like it to be. So it's kind of your little hack with that, is you can copy and paste text really from anywhere. It doesn't have to be from Outlook, and paste it in this box. See if it saves it for you. Now your signature is a little bit further down from there. Okay, so there's a box here. Yours is going to be blank, of course, so you haven't typed anything in it. You can try and copy and paste your signature from Outlook. However, a lot of times when you're trying to copy and paste an image, it doesn't come over properly in this box. So there's actually a button over here to insert your images. Kind of looks like a picture of a mountain. So that's how you can think, I need to attach my image or picture file. Okay, so if I start typing in this box, it saves anything that I'm typing in here. Let's put finance as my title, finance manager. Okay, so any style of font I have, if I bolded or unbolded my text, it'll show that too. Maybe I change it up a bit, put some spaces in there. You can make it fancy if you want. You've got bullet points and all sorts of things. Okay. Now to insert an image, we'll just click on that button, and then we need to actually find the image file on our computer. Okay, so you can click Upload, and then select the file. Here's my Dido logo. I'll put that in, and click Open. And when I do so, I just need to click Select, or it'll do it for me. And typically it shows up not in the size that you want. So you want to click on it, and then just choose what size you would like. Now, sometimes you will only get those few options and you're still not happy with the formatting. Again, this is the kind of sizing that Google can guarantee looks the same on all screen sizes and mobile devices. So that's why you only have a few options. You might want to try and play around with the actual file of the logo that you have and get a different file size if you don't like the way that this looks. Okay. Now there's another way too. If any of you have to manipulate multiple signatures, like you have multiple job titles that you need to respond as, if that pertains to you, you can type it in the question section if you'd like to see how to set up multiple signatures. Okay, but if that doesn't pertain to anybody, I don't want to waste your time here and show you that. Okay, so if you'd like to see multiple signatures, you can type that in the question section. All right, some more items that we have here to discuss also in our settings is your out of office or vacation responder. So that message that you have in Outlook doesn't come over automatically. You can copy and paste it into this box if you'd like, and it should show up for you, or you can type a new one. What I also recommend that you do is test it out a bit and see how it works so that you know how to use it when you are going to set it up on the actual day that you'll be out of office. You can schedule this for a later day by clicking in the section where it says first day and then selecting the day that you'd like to turn it on. I'm actually going to turn it on today, so I'm going to select today's date so that you guys can see what it looks like when it is enabled. Now if we just want this on for today, we want to select the last day to be today as well. Or maybe we want the last day to be tomorrow or a couple of days after that, maybe the 14th. If we want this to stay on because we don't know when we'll be back in the office, we can uncheck this last day box and it will just leave it on for us until we turn it off. I'm going to click to save my changes, and you'll see that your out of office responder is on when you see this yellow banner on the top of your screen. Okay, now why it says out of office is because I actually set that in my little box here where the subject line is. So it's actually just taking the subject line and putting it here, up at the top here. Okay, so when people send you a message when this is on, they're going to see the automated message here, and they're also going to see the subject line of out of office. All right, let me know if you guys have questions on setting up your text style, your signature, and your out of office responder. We have a couple more settings that we'll look at here that you might have had enabled in Outlook. So we'll look at those, and then we'll move on to some other topics. But if you have any questions on what you've seen so far, go ahead and type those in. All right, not seeing any questions, so I think we'll move on here. All right, one section in your settings here is called desktop notifications. If you liked how Outlook would alert you when you had a new message, it'd play a little noise and a little banner would show up and let you know that there's new email. You want to actually turn this on. By default, I think it's on this setting here so that all of them are off. Click on the top here where it says new mail notifications on. And then just above that, there's a blue link here. You need to click on it so that you can actually enable those sounds in that little window to come up here. So make sure you do click allow once you've clicked on that blue button. Okay. Down just below that is keyboard shortcuts. So those of you who are really quick when you're composing emails and things and like those, that is an option for you as well. You can turn those on, and the list of what those shortcuts are, if you click learn more, you'll be able to see all of them too. So there's different categories of things here. You can click to display what those different items are that you can use. If you are looking to set a custom shortcut, you don't like what's set up here, there's another section in the labs section of your settings. So all these blue things here at the top are actually tabs or different pages of your settings. There is one down here that says custom keyboard shortcuts. So you can type in whatever letter or numbers on your keyboard and have them become shortcuts, and you can specify what you want them to be. So just click enable and then you'll be able to do that. All right. See if there's anything else that we want to adjust here too. The last one in here, this is actually my favorite setting. It's called undo send. You can check the box to enable that. And then I recommend that you select 30 seconds. Essentially what this means is when you turn it on, let's see if we have to save. Nope, we're all good. So if you've got that turned on or enabled, if I start typing a message to Natalie and I say something like, see attachment, and then click send and forget to actually attach the attachment, I can click undo right here and bring that message back up. I have up to 30 seconds to bring the message back up here. Okay, so essentially it holds your message for 30 seconds or until you actually click anywhere else on the screen. Then your message can be sent right away. So it's not going to hold all your messages for 30 seconds. You don't have to be nervous about that. If you refresh your screen, you click on an email message or you click on a folder, this message will be sent off. Okay, but so it's kind of a watch point with that, that if you do click elsewhere, that little yellow banner that you see here will disappear. Okay, so it will send that message off and you won't have another chance to click undo if you click anywhere else. So I clicked on any of these sections, that banner is now gone. So what I do to make that effective for me and still a usable, helpful tool is I kind of train myself after I send off an email to click undo at least once. There's always a time that I could have looked at the email one other time and found a typo, or I forgot to attach something. Maybe I didn't CC everybody that should have been CC'd. All those different things. Because usually I'm just excited that I completed that email and it's now off of my list of things I need to do. And if I click undo once, I'm usually grateful that I did. Okay, so that's undo send in your settings. All right, let me know if you have any questions on that. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is how your folders came over to Google. Okay. Now, if you get to Google when you have access to see it, and you look on the left-hand side and you don't see all of your folders, you might see a section over here called Inbox. It has an underline next to it, or it's called an underscore, and then the word Inbox is in all caps. Okay, I'll zoom in so you can see it better. So I have my actual inbox, which is in red here, and then just beneath that I have something that has that underscore, and inbox is all in all caps. This doesn't mean that you have two inboxes or that everything that was in your inbox in Outlook came over to Google in a different section. Everything that was in your inbox in Outlook will be in your actual inbox in Gmail. Those of you who are seeing this section in here, and it's not going to be all of you, this section is created if you have some folders in Outlook that looked like they were actually subfolders of your inbox. So they were kind of beneath there. They weren't a folder on its own. It kind of looked like it was indented inside of your inbox. Okay, so Google's recognizing that as, oh, you wanted this to be a subfolder beneath your inbox. So it's actually created your inbox as a label here. And then if you click on the arrow to the left of it, you'll see all of those folders that you had. So if you're looking for your folders and you don't see them, see if you have this heading here, and then expand it to see those different folders. Now, if you don't want them beneath this little section, so you have to always expand it, you want them to look like these guys, where they're just out on their own. And maybe they have subfolders beneath them. What you can do is click the down arrow next to the folder you'd like to move out of there, and then click Edit, and uncheck this box. Essentially what this box does is specify that this Project Blue folder is a subfolder of this inbox heading here. Okay, so this nest label under is saying that you want this to be a subfolder of what? Of this folder that you've specified. So if we don't want that, we're just going to uncheck the box so it's a folder on its own. Now there's no real fast way to do this if you have a lot of folders. You're going to have to do this for each one of the top level folders. If you do it to, it's like say Project Green here has some subfolders beneath it, I only have to do this to Project Green, which is a little helpful. But there is no way to really drag them out of there. That doesn't do anything. And that drag feature is actually for something else, which we'll explore in a second. But in your settings, if you go back there, there's also a big page in here that lists all of your labels or your folders that came over. So we're going to click on the Labels tab. And on the top section, these are system labels, which means that they were created by Google. So you have all of these in here. These ones can't be deleted. If we scroll down a bit, we'll see all the labels that we've created. Okay? So all these ones are in here. We can click Edit on any one of these and then remove them from the inbox label here and click Save. That's your faster way of doing this, but essentially it's pretty much the same steps. It's just on a bigger screen so you can see them all. All right. Now, in order to move messages into folders, we can drag the message into the folder. Okay, so that's one way, it's the drag method. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to show you the other way too. We can click on the box next to the message and click the folder icon to move it out of the inbox and into whatever folder we've specified. But with Google, you also gain another functionality of your folders, and this is why we call them labels. So you can actually take a folder name or a label, like our client name here, and drag it to an email message and drop it on there. So essentially it lets the message stay in the inbox and also be found in that label name that you just put on there. So if I click on the left side, if I click on Etna, it will show me that message too. Notice that in my inbox, I also have things that have multiple labels on them. So you could do that too. The way that I have my labels set up is I have my client names, and then I have things that I might need to do, or if they're pending a response from somebody, I've created ones that say that as well. Okay, this is Google's kind of equivalent to categories and another way that you can organize things for yourself. Google does not have categories, but this is the way that you can get colors on things and have things exist in multiple places. So it doesn't make a copy of the message, it just allows this message to be found in multiple places. Now, I made one of the labels here that says to do or take action because oftentimes I open up an email and then I know that because of what was said in that email, I now need to create something or do something. Like I need to schedule a meeting, create a slide deck, work on a project, whatever it might be. So until I actually complete that item, I put this little label on the message. Okay, so now when I click on my Aetna folder, I can see all the stuff that I've exchanged about Aetna, and I can see what I need to do for Aetna, because all of those items are marked. Or I could come to my to-do section and see all the things I need to do, and for what clients, or are they just things that I need to do for myself or for my team. So essentially I've used that little label there as a way to turn my inbox into a to-do list as well. Now, if you don't like the drag method of dragging and dropping the labels onto email messages, you can click on this label button, which is right next to the folder. The folder icon is going to move it out of the inbox and into the folder. The label icon will keep it where it is and then also make it available in that other section. Now, consequently, you can also be in a label and you can choose another label to be on the message. Like we're in the Aetna label. And if I say, well, this is Aetna, but it also has to do with something else, or it's awaiting a follow-up or something, I can select that too. So it's just going to display where else the message is located. It's not in my inbox, it's just in Aetna, and it's also in the awaiting follow-up label as well. All right. Now, another new feature that you have is you actually gain an additional button here. So there is an archive button. So say, for instance, we actually open up this email message here and we decide, I don't really need this anymore. I see what this is saying, and we're all good. If I want this to just be taken out of my inbox, but I might need to reference it later, I'm going to click on this archive button. The archive button just moves it out of the inbox. It's still accessible to you, and you can use the search function at the top here to be able to find it again. Okay, so I'll click archive, and then it will be moved out of my inbox in the background, actually in this section called all mail. But all mail houses absolutely everything except for your spam and your trash. So it's all your drafts, your chat messages, things in your folders, your inbox, all of that. It's a lot to go through. So what we'll do instead to try and find this message is we're going to type in the search box whatever we remember about it. I think it was called Team Update. I'll perform a quick search. As you can see, I have a lot of results still. So if there's anything else that I remember, I might want to click and specify that too. If I click on this down arrow in the search box, it brings up all these different fields. Remember how you used to sort in Outlook by the sender? We'll put that in the from section. Okay, so if I type in Betty Boop here and click on the magnifying glass, I found all things from Betty. Okay, but instead of having to scan through this whole list to find all things from Betty and think to myself, what else about this message stands out to me, I could search for other things, like if the subject line, if I remember that, or some words that were in the email, like Team Update. And then I find a lot less results. The other thing that you can do is click to find things that have an attachment. That's a little box here. I'll zoom in so you can see it better. Okay, so has attachment. Or the very last item that's probably super useful for you too is that you can search for date range. So if I know that this message was sent within the last week of today, I'll select that. So the last week, and then I select the day. Click search, boom, found it. The only result there is. So that's the gist of search, and then moving things into labels, as well as using the archive feature. Now I do want you to archive messages to move them out of your inbox. I don't want you to hit the trash bin, because the trash, it will delete anything that's in here for more than 30 days automatically. It's a big change from Outlook, because that wasn't true there. which is why you gained that additional button of archive. If you click archive on a message that has a label on it, it's going to keep that message in wherever that label is, but just remove it from the inbox. So this one here is going to be still found in my Project X folder, but it's no longer in my inbox. All right, one last topic here. I know we started late, so I'm going to steal another minute from you, is conversation threading. So what Google does here is it actually groups all email messages with the same subject line together. I'm going to move this one back to my inbox so we can see it better. It's just an easy example. It's just 2 messages. So this message here, if we open it up, we'll be able to see it was originally sent from Betty Boop to Anna, Molly, and myself here. Okay, so it's listed there. So Betty sent this out to all of us. Anna then replied to everybody. Notice that that reply is actually kind of stacked on the original message. It's just beneath it. Okay? Instead of being an individual message that comes into my inbox, it's actually grouped in here, and it tells me in the parentheses how many messages are in this one line of information. Like this one here has 5 messages. I'll open it up, and then I can see all 5 of those messages. Now how this works is the newest message that is received is going to be at the bottom. Okay, so think of it as a timeline basically. Anything that you've seen already is going to be further up in the timeline. Okay? There's no way to adjust this order. You just need to get used to how it is formatted. If you've read something already, Google closes it up for you, so collapses it like this, but you can click on it to expand it and see that message and remind yourself of what was exchanged again. Okay, so that's kind of a general breakdown of what conversation threading is. If you decide and you're exploring this that it's just not for you, what you can do is come into your settings here, scroll down until you find Conversation View, and then click Conversation View Off. Okay? And when you do that, it'll expand all those messages that were grouped up together so that they're separated. So you can see all of this information. So it looks like my inbox is a lot more crowded. Okay, but if you decide to turn that back on, it will recognize that for you as well and be turned back on, grouping those messages together again. Okay. All right, so that's your crash course on Gmail. We are going to have a full overview session where we go into more depth on things like conversation threading. We talk about recreating your rules in Outlook, but we wanted to talk to you about the basic settings to adjust when you first get to your account. And I'll add preview pane to your Gmail account or Quickstart guide here so that you can see that. But if you are, when you first access your account, going to want to recreate your rules, there's a section of that in here that will give you step-by-step instructions on how to recreate your rules from Outlook in Google, because they're just formatted differently and they're called filters in Google. So we have to actually recreate those from scratch. All right, but we'll give you actually examples of that in our full hour-long session on Gmail. It's a full overview. This one was just a quick one to get you started right away. And I'll give you the link to the slide deck one more time. That has the quick start guide and the mobile device setup guides too. Okay. So in the chat section of GoToWebinar, that will be listed there for you, and you can click on it and bookmark it so you can reference it later. All right, everyone, we'll have a quick crash session on Google Calendar later on today, so I hope to see you there. And I'll send the recording after each session over to Corby, who will send that out to you guys later on today. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope to see you again later. Bye-bye.